what gets you through on...
Some headlines are built to stop your scroll before your brain catches up. This is one of them. A story about a marriage that has survived nearly 4 decades in the unforgiving glare of Hollywood, a devastating diagnosis, and a level of scrutiny most couples never have to imagine. But before we go further, here is the honest truth about what you are about to hear. There was no public breakdown, no tell-all confession, no dramatic unraveling behind closed doors. What actually exists is something quieter, more human, and in many ways more remarkable than any tabloid headline could capture. To understand why this story matters, we have to go back to where it all began, long before Parkinson's disease entered the picture, long before the world knew the name Tracy Pollan. Michael J. Fox and Tracy Pollan first met in 1985, not under romantic circumstances, but on a television set. Fox was already a household name thanks to family ties, and producers brought Pollan in to play his on-screen girlfriend. By his own account, documented years later in his memoirs, the first meeting did not go well. He has described feeling instantly self-conscious around her, aware that his usual charm and comedic timing simply did not land. It was not love at first sight so much as a slow, almost reluctant recognition that this particular person unsettled him in a way no one else had. That discomfort, as it turned out, was the beginning of something lasting. Their real connection did not form on set but off it, during the filming of the 1987 movie Bright Lights, Big City, where they worked together again outside the structured world of network television. Away from cameras and scripts, something shifted. Fox has said in interviews and in his own writing that Pollan saw through the persona he had built for himself in Hollywood, the fast-talking, image-conscious young star, and pushed back against it. She was not impressed by fame, and that, more than anything, seemed to draw him in. They married in July of 1988 in Arlington, Vermont, in a wedding that was notably private for 2 people already living in the public eye. 3 years later, in 1991, Fox received a diagnosis that would alter the course of his life entirely. He was told he had young-onset Parkinson's disease at the age of 29, an age when the condition is exceptionally rare. For nearly 7 years, he kept this diagnosis largely private, sharing it only with close family and a small circle of trusted colleagues. This period, which he has since described in detail in his 2002 memoir Lucky Man, was defined by fear, denial, and according to his own recollections, moments of heavy drinking as he struggled to process what the diagnosis meant for his career, his marriage, and his future as a father. It was during this hidden chapter that Pollan's role in the relationship became something far more significant than public narratives often acknowledge. Fox has repeatedly stated, in interviews with outlets such as ABC News and in his own published writing, that Pollan was not simply supportive in a passive sense. She confronted him about his drinking, insisted he seek help, and made clear that she was not going to quietly watch him disappear into avoidance. This was not a Hollywood fairy tale of unconditional patience. It was, by his own description, a marriage where honesty and confrontation played as large a role as comfort and tenderness. In 1998, Fox made the decision to go public with his diagnosis, a moment widely covered by major outlets at the time and later revisited in countless documentaries and interviews. Shortly afterward, he stepped back from his starring role on Spin City, a decision that marked a turning point not just in his career but in how the couple approached their shared life. Pollan, who had built her own respected acting career with credits including Michael Clayton and various stage productions, chose in the years that followed to take on fewer roles, prioritizing family life as Fox's symptoms became more pronounced and less predictable. This is where the popular narrative tends to flatten into simplicity, framing Pollan as a saintly, endlessly patient caretaker. The more complete picture, based on interviews the couple has given over the years, including joint appearances and Fox's own reflections in his subsequent memoirs, Always Looking Up and No Time Like the Future, suggests something more nuanced. Fox has spoken candidly about periods of tension, about moments when his frustration with his own body spilled over into the household, and about the emotional toll that unpredictability takes on everyone involved, not just the person diagnosed. Pollan, for her part, has rarely given lengthy media interviews about their private struggles, a choice that itself speaks to how the couple has managed public attention. The 2023 documentary Still, a Michael J. Fox movie, directed by Davis Guggenheim and released on Apple TV+, offered one of the most revealing looks at their life together, though even here, the revelations came through Fox's own narration and archival footage rather than dramatic confessional interviews from Pollan herself. The film shows unguarded moments, including physical falls and struggles with mobility, presented not for shock value but to illustrate the day-to-day reality of living with an advancing neurological condition. Critics and audiences alike noted that Pollan's presence throughout the film was steady rather than performative, visible in small gestures of assistance rather than staged emotional monologues. This distinction matters enormously when evaluating a headline like the one framing this video. There is no verified record of Tracy Pollan breaking down publicly or issuing some dramatic revelation about the true state of their marriage. What exists instead is a body of publicly available material, memoirs, documentary footage, and select interviews, that paints a picture of a marriage built on realism rather than romantic mythology. Fox himself has used the phrase "in sickness and in health," not as an abstract vow but as a description of lived experience, acknowledging in multiple interviews that the marriage has required renegotiation as his condition has progressed. Parkinson's disease is a progressive neurological disorder that affects movement, balance, and eventually speech and cognition in many patients. Public health organizations note that its unpredictable progression places unique strain on caregiving relationships, often reshaping the dynamic between partners over time. Fox has spoken about this directly, noting in interviews that Pollan has had to take on responsibilities far beyond what either of them anticipated when they married in 1988, long before either could have known what the coming decades held. Their 4 children, Sam, twins Aquina and Skylar and Esme, have occasionally appeared alongside their parents in public settings, though the family has generally kept their children's lives out of the media spotlight. This choice reflects a broader pattern in how Fox and Pollan have handled fame throughout their marriage, engaging with the public on their own terms, particularly through Fox's advocacy work with the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research, which he founded in 2000 and which has since raised significant funding for research into the disease. What makes this story compelling is not scandal but endurance. In an industry where celebrity marriages are frequently measured in months rather than decades, Fox and Pollan have remained married for over 35 years, weathering a life-altering diagnosis, the pressures of fame, and the ordinary friction that exists in any long partnership. Fox has often credited Pollan with keeping him grounded, while also acknowledging, with characteristic humor documented in multiple interviews, that their marriage has never been without its arguments and frustrations. Biographers and entertainment journalists who have covered the couple over the years, including those who worked on retrospectives tied to the release of Still, have generally agreed that the strength of the marriage lies precisely in its refusal to be simplified into either tragedy or triumph. It is neither a story of a broken man saved by a devoted wife, nor a story of quiet suffering hidden behind a public smile. It is, according to the record Fox himself has laid out across 3 memoirs and numerous interviews, a marriage shaped by honesty about its hardest moments alongside genuine affection that has outlasted them. As Fox's condition has continued to progress in recent years, public appearances have become less frequent, though he continues to speak openly when he does appear, most notably during his 2022 acceptance of an honorary Academy Award for his humanitarian work. In these moments, Pollan has remained present but largely silent in the media narrative, a pattern that seems less like concealment and more like a shared understanding of what deserves to be shared with the world and what belongs only to them. In the end, the real story here is not one of a dramatic breakdown or a hidden truth suddenly revealed. It is the far more difficult and far more human story of 2 people who chose each other before either knew what challenges lay ahead, and who have continued choosing each other through diagnosis, uncertainty, and the slow accumulation of both hardship and love that defines any marriage measured in decades rather than headlines.